Hi, Jennifer D. Scroggins, author of Facing the Rearview Mirror, this thing. And it's been brought to my attention that some folks had wanted to hear the characters kind of come to life a little bit. And I know my kids got a bit of a kick when I read a couple of the chapters to them, and they got to hear the characters' voice as, kind of come alive. And I know I've always enjoyed hearing stories read aloud. And I used to do cowboy poetry back in the day. It's been a long time since I've done that. And once again, I'm at late at night doing this, so my voice is getting a bit raspy, especially since I've had to wait out the dog a couple times in his romancing himself, I guess. I don't know what he's been up to. But I'm going to give a chapter, or part of a chapter, a read. And this is from the second part of the book. This is when they're on their way back to Texas. They've been down the road and now they're headed back again. And they're grown up. And the main character has a different name. And if you read the whole story, you'll know why. But her first name has changed. And instead of being Abby, she's Jessie now. So, anyway, that'll hopefully eliminate any confusion. So, this is part of the road trip back. The road trip from hell is how I always referred to it. Driving to Texas with 3 kids and a dog the size of my husband. Let's take the scenic route. It'll be fun. Our first family vacation. Think of the memories, Jessie. The kids will love it. It'll be good for us as a family to do something together. For once. Think of the adventure. Made me even more convinced that, yeah, my husband is insane. Less than 100 miles outside of Portland, the dog and one of my kids had already puked in my Suburban. We had made 2. Let's explore the nasty pedo-creepo-infested truck stop bathrooms, touch everything 3 times, put our hands in our mouths. Fergus was alternately panting and whining before he barfed Cheetos all over the back seat, farting so foully at the same time I was sure the leather seats were never going to lose the smell. Bo quickly pulled to the side of the road, unloaded the dog and the barfed-upon blanket, shaking out the worst of it, while I scolded the ones who had chummed him the forbidden treat. I didn't yell. I didn't cuss. I just shook my head, tried to maintain a positive attitude. I knew Bo was doing his best to give me the happy family experience I'd missed out on when I was a little kid. It wasn't his fault, totally, that our kids were heathens. How long are we going to be trapped in here? Vic was the first dissenting voice. I knew she would be. She hated being strapped into her car seat between her 2 brothers. She felt it was undignified and an affront to her intellectual capabilities. Even though she understood it was because she was small physically, she wanted to be loose to rule the world. Pete was grumbling about the musical selections. He was a creature of habit, and he liked 2 songs, and 2 songs only. He liked to sing along with them, loudly, and he became enraged if anyone else sang along with them or if they were interrupted. We all knew the songs by heart. The first few times they were tolerable. But by the 20th time, we were all ready to puncture our eardrums and jump out the windows. Pete, honey, Mom needs a break from Reaper before she goes totally twitchy, okay? He muttered under his breath and looked away. Young man, did you just swear at me? He wouldn't look at me, but Vic laughed and made her monkey speak, so I knew a cuss was coming. He said kiss his ass. She was an odd kid. She wouldn't cuss, but she knew her little fella she named that monkey after cussed, so she would cuss through that damn monkey, like a sailor on shore leave. Have you ever tried to wash the mouth out of a stuffed monkey? Yeah, you gotta be creative with kids. Well, alrighty then. That's the end of Pete picking music for the day. Who wants to pick the next round of tunes? Pete's eyes got big, and he started apologizing, but I started sorting through the iPod until I found some good Irish punk rock that Bo liked. So by the time he got Fergus loaded back up, we were well into a nice thrashing tune that had Seth and Vic kicking their feet and smiling. But I had earned Pete's ire, and he figured that the best way to get revenge on me was to take it out on Vic and that damn monkey. The odor of vomit from Fergus was not pleasant, so we had the windows down. And I really thought Pete was past his let's toss crap out the window at 80 miles an hour and see what happens. I never expected him to grab Vic's monkey and toss him, but when she screamed and then taking her bottle of bubbles in her hand belted him in the nose, creating a fountain of blood that made Seth scream, I knew that the fun on this trip was just beginning. Holy hell, Bo, pull over now. She tossed Jackson and she may have just broken his nose. I went to grabbing all the cloth I could find, which wasn't much, mostly just the extra t-shirt I had stashed for Pete, and then I went over the seat to try to staunch the flow of blood from his nose and to prevent Vic from escaping from her seat to go out the window after Jackson. Seth was sitting in his seat wide-eyed, spattered with his brother's blood, as was half the back of the damn truck. Fergus started growling and barking as I looked up to see a state trooper slowly pulling up behind the truck, looking like he was ready to haul us all in. Bo, we have company." He was sitting there looking like he was halfway hoping the trooper would take him to jail. I was stuck between the seats, my hand clamped over my son's face, my daughter screaming and crying, and my dog growling and barking in my face, slobbering Cheetos funk in my hair. And I was hoping he would take me. "Jackson! We have to get Jackson!" Her screams were getting louder and more hysterical as I tried to calm her. The trooper tapped Bo's window, so Bo rolled it down. "License and registration." The trooper was all business and seemed to ignore the mayhem going on in the truck, but I could see a twitch in the corner of his mouth. Bo fumbled out the paperwork he wanted. "Sir, I can explain. My son has Downs. He was angry that my daughter's monkey told on him for telling my wife to kiss his ass, so the dog threw up Cheetos and we had the windows open and he threw the monkey out, and now Vic is freaking out, and if I don't get Jackson back, she's going to go after him. Sir, is anyone in the vehicle in need of medical attention?" Bo looked at me. I had gotten Vic disarmed and Pete's nose had stopped bleeding, but it was swollen and red. I shook my head. He was okay, just sore and upset. Vic, however, was another story. She was in full freak out. "I just need to get my daughter's monkey, sir. He's a special monkey." The trooper called in our information and walked around the truck looking at us like he was examining some rare circus act. I really didn't blame him, and then he spoke to Vic. "Miss, can you identify your monkey?" She stopped sobbing long enough to say, "He's small and skinny, with brown hair and brown eyes and a tail, because only monkeys have tails. Apes don't." The trooper smiled at her. "I see. Stand by." He walked back to his car and sat in the passenger seat for a moment, talking on his radio and fiddling with something. In a few minutes he came walking back towards us with Jackson wearing a badge. He handed Bo the monkey and he leaned towards Vic. "He seems to be okay. He's a pretty tough monkey, and I've made him an honorary trooper for being so brave. You guys do me a favor and be good kids and don't fight while your daddy's trying to drive, okay?" The kids all looked at him like he was John Wayne, and they nodded and promised to behave, a promise I knew would last all of 10 minutes after the trooper was out of sight. "Where are you headed?" The trooper smiled at us and shook his head as Bo told him we were driving to Texas. "I guess I've heard crazier, but it looks like you have a challenge ahead of you. If I were you, I'd pull off in the next town and clean that blood off the seats and the rest of the vehicle. Folks might be suspicious of that if you were to get pulled over again." The trooper handed Bo back the papers and smiled at us again, wished us luck, and walked back to his car shaking his head. I knew we had given at least one person a good story to laugh about for a while. After all, it's not flying monkeys and trucks full of bloody kids and Cheeto bar-smelling adults with a ginormous slobbery dog that often cross your path. It was going to be a long dang trip. And that was the start of the trip. So, that is where they're headed back to Texas, and kind of not the introduction of the kids, because you're just pretty much getting to start, already have gotten to know them a little bit. And monkeys fly. I could write a whole novel in itself about the adventures with that monkey. That's my daughter's partner in crime, and basically you've probably seen him if you've seen my other author's little blog thing. It is her assistant now that she is my manager, and he was standing guard on me today. I was supposed to be writing when I was just messing around on Tumblr. I busted. But anyhow, so that's in the second part of the book. and when they're headed back to Texas. So I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, my voice is a little raspy this evening, and the Texas accent's still kicking pretty strong. And if you got any questions, comments, or concerns, I'm on Facebook at Jennifer D. Scroggins. You can leave me a message there, and I'm always willing to talk. And for those of you who have been supporting me and commenting and buying my books, thank you so much. And for those of you who have reviewed me, thank you. As an indie author out there just trying to make my way, it's tough, but I'm already ahead of the curve, and I appreciate it. I appreciate every little comment, every little retweet, every little bit of support I've gotten. You guys are great, and thank you very much. Have a good evening.